So welcome, and I will hand over to Florian, who'll be talking about the next generation of Impact Stack.
Thank you and good morning. Welcome everyone. It's great to see that so many of you have made it today. We typically talk about things that have happened already, or we typically talk about like exciting campaigns that are currently out there. But we thought because 2023 is going to be such a big year for us, we're also going to give you a bit of an outlook in terms of what that means for the next generation of Impact Stack. Of course, as many of you may know, some of these features that we'll be covering have been out there and used by many organizations already, but it might not be quite as visible because these might be things that are going on in the background. But there are also loads of exciting things to share that will be rolling out over the year. So just really quickly, my name is Florian Engel. I'm the product manager at Impact Stack and also the managing director at More Onion, the company behind Impact Stack. We will be pausing for questions. So if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and we'd be happy to also answer them on the call as much as that's possible. We're going to have about an hour and there is a lot to talk about. So if for some reason we don't get to your question, we will respond in writing afterwards. So with that, let's get started. So Impact Stack has been around for almost 10 years now. So when we started developing Impact Stack, what we wanted to do was to build a platform that helps you, all these organizations, really use digital campaigning and digital fundraising in a way where you don't necessarily have to have one platform that can take care of everything, but rather you integrate the various different platforms that you're already using, the email marketing tool that's already in place and that you like and that you're happy with, or the CRM system that's been implemented for your organization. So rather than trying to build up like new, completely separate software that tries to take care of some of these things, so you have like multiple software at your organization with the same kind of functionality, our approach was always to be very open and to allow you to sort of use the best in class technology for each of the different areas of kind of the tech that you need, really. So with the next generation, we're taking that even further. What that means is, if you think about Impact Stack, the most visible parts of Impact Stack are obviously the action pages, the ability for you to like set up really engaging email to target actions, loads of other types of engagement actions or petitions, and of course donation pages and the on-page user journey for supporters that is really smooth and easy. The part that's also Impact Stack that's less visible at times is how we prepare data and structure data and allow you to then integrate with other systems. So these are just some examples, but if you think about it, Impact Stack has multiple layers, and one of these layers is also your email marketing. And the way that we help you make that happen is through these integrations. Here, just to name a few, the same is true for CRM. There are always going to be use cases for your organization to have a fundraising database or some kind of like CRM system that has requirements that Impact Stack will not fulfill, such as like integration with your bookkeeping and accounting, or similar sort of very specific use cases that might be important for your organization, but that are not our core offering. So instead of trying to do that like in a way that your finance team would not be particularly happy with, we would much rather provide really solid integrations with your CRM systems. And that is also what many of you have already done. So the different ways that we offer integrations with CRM systems is really important. But at the end of the day, it should be like one unified experience for you as the people using Impact Stack. So you don't have to worry too much about the details, but you can just go into these systems and start working, and all the data flows are sorted. So with the next generation of Impact Stack, we're going to be starting with that top layer. So all the things that are very visible, and later towards in this presentation, we'll also touch on the things that might be less visible, because they're one of these sort of layers further down on the stack. So the first thing that we want to mention is the next generation of Impact Stack. Some of these elements have already been released. So a good example of that are the next generation themes that most of you are using by now. So the next generation themes allow you to not just take control of the page in a very new way by being where you can choose how the page layout of the page looks like, whether you want like a large banner image or a background image and these sorts of things. But it also comes with a few other quite significant improvements. So if you think about the same page with just one click could look either like the one that you can see at the top or like the one that you can see at the bottom with like a large banner image. And the reason why we wanted to make that so flexible is because sometimes the same action, you might have slightly different audiences. And it's really important that you are the people who will know who the audience is and what the best design for one particular action is going to be, because there is no one design that is the best for everyone. Sometimes you want to have audiences, they don't need much convincing to take action or to make a donation because they're already warm, they come from your list. Sometimes you're going to need loads of space for content to actually engage these audiences. And if you have like traffic from potential new supporters who don't even know the organization that well, you're going to need different design options, and the design should always focus around the content and the presentation of the content. So here's just one example from Shelter of how the same page could look very different in one with page layout variations. Here's another example from Friends of the Earth where they use like a large background image that really changes from one action to another and helps them to create like a very different look from one action to another. And the way that this works in the current version of Impact Stack is that you have an interface where you can choose which of the page layouts you want, depending on the ones that you have activated on your installation. And then you can add additional elements such as like the image, the background image, or the banner image. And one of the new things that we've also made possible is that you can now put what we call a display heading above these images. So that allows you to have like copy that sits above the image, and that will look really good on some of these page layout variations. That's actually been a feature request for quite a while. So we're really proud that we've found a way to make this happen on the current version of Impact Stack. But the thing about the next generation, and that is maybe also a good segue, is the way that we make that possible with the next generation. And what you can see here is the screen grab of the next generation already, is that we are going to be introducing even more of these options of where you can really take control of the page. So for example, with the next generation, you'll be able to control exactly where the progress bar sits. So just like you can already say on mobile devices, I want the form to sit at the top or at the bottom, we will also make it possible for you to choose whether the progress bar should sit above the form or whether it should sit next to the main headline. And those are the kind of sort of small tweaks that make it really flexible for you to adjust the pages in a way that is not just really easy, but also gives you a lot of flexibility. So what you can see here is the next generation of Impact Stack, where I'm switching to a different page layout. And on the side, you can see the preview as it's switching from one to another. So exactly the same page. And as I'm switching through these different options, you can see that is how easy it is to change the page from a simple 2-column layout on desktop to a banner layout with like a display heading to another third option. In this case, it's like a fixed background image that will also stay in place. So this is just like a small example of how the next generation of Impact Stack will make it really easy for you to take control over your pages. And all the things that we've already released will be deeply integrated and will also provide more interface options for those. The other thing that we've already released about themes are snippets. So snippets are small little things that you can use to make your page more engaging, to structure the content on your page, to make your pages more exciting, and in some ways to just tweak the page in a way that, that will help you increase conversion rates. So some of these sound really simple, but if you think about it, they actually change landing pages in a quite dramatic way. So the first one is read more links. The read more links, you can place those on pages and it will hide a whole section of content until the user clicks on them, and then it will expand in place. It won't link to an external page. It will expand in place and show this content. Everyone who's ever been asked by your policy staff to put like really lengthy copy on the page explaining every little detail about the issue that you're communicating will know that that can be quite a lot of content for a landing page and can be quite overwhelming. But there are always these supporters who really want to know the detail. So it's a great way to sort of like put it on the page, have all the detail right there without linking off to like a policy report or some external resource. So you have the content right there, but it's neatly tucked away so you don't necessarily have to engage with it. And it's also not as overwhelming for those supporters landing on the page who don't necessarily want to know all the details. They're fine with just sort of the top level explanation. Another small example, but really important, is sticky buttons. So you can place all kinds of different sticky buttons that will appear on mobile, on desktop, and different places on your pages. And that just allows people to always have the call to action right there. So whenever they're reading or they're engaging with some of the content on the page, they will always see the call to action. So this is another like small tweak, but because we've made it available for all themes, and it's really easy for you to just integrate it. Another way to put a lot of content on your page without overwhelming the user is these accordion FAQ snippets. So in this case, what you can see is similar to the read more, only that you can have multiple ones of these on the same page. And whenever the user clicks on one, the other one collapses. So these are really useful if you have a small FAQ section, especially important for donation pages, but also for actions. Sometimes you want to make sure that all the background information is there and it's well structured. But again, it's not necessarily it's not going to lead to like a huge amount of content on the pages. So another small thing that has a really big impact on your conversion rate, on the supporters, and the experience these supporters will have with your page. And just to give you a last example, there are loads of these snippets, but another example is the letter display. So this is something that that with Impact Stack we've used for many years, but we've turned this into a snippet that is standardized and really easy to use, where you can actually put something like the copy that, or the letter or whatever it is that people are signing, or the petition text on the page in a way that it really stands out and it looks like slightly different. And this is really useful to just provide a bit more structure to the page and to make sure that like different elements also have a different meaning, and that meaning is conveyed through slightly different design. So the letter is something that you can also use in many different ways. We've seen quite a few creative ways of how these have been used. So some of you may already know about it. For those of you where it's new, do check it out. We are also doing another webinar about some really creative actions from Shelter and Faux Pas. And that is another example where you're going to see how these snippets can really help you produce some incredible actions. So the great thing about the next generation is that we're building really elegant interfaces for all of these snippets. So right now, you can copy a little bit of HTML and drop that into the page, which makes it very flexible because you can put it anywhere you like, and you can also make loads of changes to it. But with the new interface and the Impact Stack next generation, you will be able to just drag it around on the page as needed. And again, it's like really easy to use. You just you just say that you want to add something to a page, then you have the options of all the snippets, and that includes all the buttons, all the read more links, and all of those things that I've just shown you. And it will be right there, including the preview. So at this point, do you have any questions about those themes and the snippets? Because this is the kind of like the area where a lot of this has already been released, so you can already use that. But obviously, with the next generation, we're extending it with interface options, and we're making it even easier to use. And we'll also provide even more of those kinds of snippets and little things that you can put on the page.
Thanks, Florian. We've got quite a few questions, so if I can kind of pose those to you for everybody to benefit. So first question from Michael at Greenpeace Germany is, can you easily A/B test those different versions, layout variations for a specific campaign?
So with the next generation of Impact Stack, that is, I'm sort of like getting ahead of myself here, but with the next generation of Impact Stack, being able, it's very, very easy to duplicate actions and create as many of these variations as you like. And the way that you can do split testing in the case of page layout variations, the best way to do that is to set up multiple actions, but use the same form on these actions, and then use a split testing tool to divide up the traffic between these actions. That is the recommended way, and that is also the best way to do it. And especially again, with next generation, that is one of those things that we are doing a lot, and that many of you out there are doing a lot. And with the current version, it's always, you have to set up the action. You will then have multiple forms, and it comes with some challenges. Like, it's doable and it works, but when you need to clone an action, the support team will take care of that. But like with the next generation, all of this is included in the interface. So that is how we would recommend going about setting up split tests and testing multiple page layout variations.
Thanks. So, question from Zach, is this only available for people who have bought additional themes? So I think this, from the context of when the question came up, was to do with reordering elements on the page.
Okay, so all of this is like all the kind of features that I've just shown you are available for, first of all, anyone who uses a next generation theme. But the upgrade to a new theme, if you just want the standard theme, is free of charge for all current clients. And as part of the onboarding, we also provide you with a standard theme. So all of the snippets and all of the interface on how you work with these themes, all of that is included for everyone. The one thing where we do charge extra is for additional page layout variations. And the reason is that we've decided we would rather give every single client a free theme that has a lot of options. But obviously, there's also work involved in creating those themes and setting those up. And our designer has to like produce these themes. And then there's work involved. And the way that we've decided that we're going to make sure that we also get funding to improve these themes on an ongoing basis is that you can buy additional page layout variations. But again, if you think about the cost of these page layout variations, you can have all of these 5 and potentially in future more different options for different ways the page is going to look like. For the cost, that is almost like 1/4 of what it used to be if you work with some developer who's going to create something from scratch. The reason is that we've invested a lot in an underlying system that helps us to produce these themes really quickly in comparison, and also that we're maintaining these for everyone at the same time. So when we make changes and improvements, or when we release new features, everyone will automatically get those as part of those themes. And that is really the value here. So there is additional cost when you want additional page layouts, but everything that you've seen for the standard page layout is included for free for everyone.
Does that answer your question, Zach? Yep, cool, thank you. I'm going to pose one more question and the remainder I'll pick up in the chat because I'm conscious of time, but I just wanted to pass this one on again from Michael. Is further customization via CSS or JavaScript possible?
So the way that works is you can just drop in a link to any external assets such as CSS and JavaScript that you want to, and those will be loaded on the page. However, if you do that, then one of the challenges that are going to come with that, like with any system, is that you will also have to make sure that that doesn't break the page, because you have the power to put anything on the page, but that also comes with the responsibility, because you can put JavaScript on the page that breaks other functionality that's already there. If you have a bug in your code, then that will be loaded on those pages. So that is just sort of like the little bit of a warning here. But yes, it will be possible, and it already is possible to just add your own version. Yeah, I think with details, it's always best to just have a conversation with us, because the way that we approach this is, if you have change requests to the standard themes, or you have ideas on how we should be making them better, or what kind of JavaScript functionality we should be providing, maybe there's something there where we say, we think that's a great idea and everyone should have this, and we'll just build it into the standard themes, which means that we will also maintain it and you don't have to worry about it as much. So depending on what those things are that you're looking for, it might be worth having a quick conversation before you just start dropping in code.
Thanks, everyone. I will continue to try and answer questions in the chat. Any we haven't got to by the end of the day, we'll take away and get back to you separately. But I'm going to hand back to Florian now to move on through the presentation.
All right, thank you. So one of the things that you've already seen, but this is a massive change for the next generation, is the live preview of pages. So again, the way that you can see this is see where I'm typing. You can see to the right, this is the mobile preview. You can actually see how the copy changes as I'm typing. So we know that this is the sort of thing, again, that we've been thinking about a lot, and that we feel like has a lot of potential. In the current version of Impact Stack, you can make a lot of changes, and then you can save those changes and you land on the page so you can see it right away. But obviously, having to go back and forth between like editing and then publishing and editing and publishing, sometimes it would be nice to just see it right there, because then you don't even have to remember anything. You can just work with the preview, and when you're ready, then you hit publish. And that is one of those features where it's really nice. The other thing is that it allows you to have that mobile preview in comparison to tablet and desktop, which again makes it really convenient to double check, does that copy also make sense on mobile, or is it maybe a bit confusing because the order on the page obviously changes with mobile? Or is that background image that I've been using, is that really ideal for all the different screen sizes that I'm working with? So these are just some examples. Or even if you try snippets. In this case, if you try snippets, you just drop in the sticky button and you put your copy on it. You see it in the preview, and you might notice that on mobile, the label of this sticky button is so long that it wraps into a new line. These are these small things that you will notice with the preview, and that just, yeah, it's just great to help you sort of improve the pages. Another thing that we are introducing with the next generation is 2 new options for sharing. As you know, sharing has always been one of those areas where we spend a lot of time optimizing and a lot of time making sure that all the channels that are popping up and that are being used by people out there are also included in those share options. Like in the past year or so, I think many of you may have seen this, that the most popular sharing option has been WhatsApp. And for someone who's been working in digital campaigning for quite a while, it used to be like 10 years ago, Facebook was the thing, and email sharing was often one of the most popular. So we've come a long way. But for some audiences, that's going to differ quite a lot. But what I'm trying to say is, like, you already have WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger sharing and that sort of stuff. But there are two new things that we thought would be good to have. One is native mobile sharing via apps. So this is really a great way to just make sure that the way that people are sharing, it might not be the typical sort of social experience anymore, but often it might be a group chat with family or friends, or it might be something that you don't even know of yet because it's some app that people are starting to use. So by offering that, what people see is they see the most recent apps or the most actively used apps. For example, if they use WhatsApp a lot, it's going to have loads of different WhatsApp chat groups right there at the top. And it's a one-click sharing kind of experience that is native to mobile phones and both on iOS and Android. So this is a great new thing that we're already testing with some clients on the next generation, and I'm really interested to see sort of how that's going to perform. And the second thing is the copy share link button. This is just one of those things that we've been talking about for a while. But again, as we are seeing sharing behavior, as we're seeing these changes in sharing behavior, and it's no longer the typical like Twitter, Facebook kind of experience, we felt like providing a simple copy button that you can also put on those pages essentially allows users to make those choices. And often users don't necessarily know how to like copy a link from a page they've just come from, or with this is really straightforward and easy because they just have to click the button. It will copy the link that you want them to share, and they can put that anywhere they want to. So the other thing with new sharing options is that you can change the labels of every single button. And so you can take complete control over these labels. At the moment, these labels are fixed. So they describe the channel, and we do have translations where it's applicable. But for most of you, it will always be the exact same label. Now, one of the things that we've noticed during split testing is that sometimes, again, for some audiences, it can make sense to tweak that copy a little bit to make it more attractive, or to tailor it really to the action, things like that. And the same thing is true for the order of buttons. Now, with the next generation, you can change the order, and you can make sure that like the channel that is most popular with your audience is at the top, and that might change over time. So you can really take complete control over the order and look and feel of these share buttons. The third thing that I wanted to say is that the content that you place above the share buttons is also much more flexible. Currently, this is just a headline. So a headline around the share block that you can change, but with the next generation, you can put any content in the same box. Now that might sound like a small change to you, but the reason why it's quite significant is because if you think about the page layouts and all the flexibility that comes with it, what we've seen is that sometimes there's a lot of content on the page that could also be in the same box as the share buttons and would really help sort of support the call for sharing. But due to the current version and some of the constraints that we have, that's currently not possible. In the next generation, that will be very easy. So this is just another small example of how the interface of the next generation and the ability of how you can control every single aspect of the page is just much easier and smoother, and something that we're quite proud of. Another thing that we should mention is page speed. Now, page speed, there's always an element of page speed that is in your control, because it depends on the images that you upload, how big they are and how they're processed. It depends on the content that you put on the page. And the same thing is true for things like SEO scoring and accessibility. So some of this clearly sits with you as a responsibility, but the other part sits with us. And with the next generation, one of the things that we've also invested in a lot is improving page speed. So the performance of the pages, and how fast users can load them on various different devices. If they have poor connectivity, how, in what order are the pages being loaded? All of this stuff, we've been able to make like a significant improvements on all of those areas. Some of those changes are actually, from a technical point of view, quite complicated, because but it really shows how the entire change in how the architecture of the entire system works also leads to very tangible improvements. For example, with page load. An example is that with the current version, the form that sits on any action page is actually loaded along with the page because it's part of the same system. With the next generation, the form is loaded, you load the page first and then the form is loaded, which means if you have a very, very long and complicated form, or something with a payment processor, in terms of the loading takes a bit longer than it typically does, this won't be the case with the next generation. So it won't prevent the user from actually engaging with the page. That is sort of the mobile first kind of rendering. There are various ways on how we've also changed the rendering of images. With the next generation, any image that you upload will automatically be rendered in a number of different sizes. So depending on the screen size and the device that you're connecting with, it will already be like optimized for this device. This also includes some sort of advanced image processing that I'm not going to go into too much detail, but just so you know, this is one of those areas where we did see the potential for improvement, and we invested a lot to make it happen. And I've already mentioned the deeper integration with standard themes. So right now, if you drop in an image on the what you see is what you get editor on Impact Stack, the current version, this image is not going to be treated in any way. That gives you, again, in one way, it gives you a lot of control, because you can put exactly the image in that you want with the exact size and whatever. But it's not as convenient if you don't necessarily think about the size of these images and you just want it handled. So with the new system, this is an example of whether the integration with the standard themes, it will just take the image and change its rendering depending on various choices, such as like a page layout variation, or how the device the user is using and such. Another great thing is content sections. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but with the next generation, and this is going to be available for all page layout variations, you will be able to add some certain sections to the pages, essentially 2 column sections with images and some copy, but we'll also have a few other creative section types in the long term. And this is just one way, again, where you can take more control over how exactly you want to structure these pages. One thing that I'm really proud of, that again, sometimes might not be as obvious, but using Impact Stack as one organization can be quite powerful. But sometimes what you want is actually, you want to work in a coalition, or you want to work as an organization with multiple local chapters, and each of these chapters or national offices, they have their own setup, and they have their own data, and they have their own staff, but you're still working under the same umbrella. Or you want to share platforms with other kind of entities, but because you're actually working on the same campaign, why not use the same platform, right? So one of the things that we've done with the next generation of Impact Stack is that we've really from the ground up, we've built it in a way that you can have multiple organizations with different relationships to each other. So such as the headquarters and then the national office, and in the long term also the local group. And the same thing is true for coalitions. So you can have different members of the coalition, and all of that data will be separated in the backend, and all of the user accounts will be assigned to one organization, so they can only make changes within their own page or within their own version of the page. but in the background, it's still connected to all the other organizations, which makes things like sharing counters or things like duplicating and cloning actions from the international office and the international petition or whatever action you're doing to the local version. So they just need to clone it into their own little local setup and then make some tweaks, and they're good to go. So these are these small changes that will be possible through a very substantial rewrite of the software, and also quite a shift in terms of how we operate. So this is a big one. At the moment, what that means is that we can offer Impact Stack Next Generation to coalitions, because the first client who's been using Next Generation is Compassion World Farming and their international coalition. But in future, by the end of the year, we will also have the first international organizations with national offices using this same system. And in the subsequent year, we'll be talking about local groups and other structures like that. So more on this later. I just wanted to sort of put it in here because it's one of those major changes that are happening. Now, new form builder, I'm not going to go into too much detail because if you look at it, it's going to look fairly similar to the form builder that you already know. But one of the things that where we've really improved the interface is that it's actually touch and mobile friendly. I know this might be a small thing for most of you, but like for someone like me who might end up tweaking a form on the go, or there's this one thing and I just want to check that everything is set up correctly, it's really easy to use on a mobile phone. So that's great. And we'll also provide many new fields. So as you know, with the current version of Impact Stack, you have these fields that are fixed and sort of structured in a certain way. And then you have all the stuff where you can create your own. With the next generation, what we're doing is we're introducing a lot of fields that are sort of sit between these two categories. So it's like pre-set up fields for you, just to save you some time and maybe to also give you new ideas about like how you can set up forms and what you can do with it. And also we have what you see is what you get editor on themes, which is maybe important for some of you. Those of you who've put a lot of HTML content on the forms, this is for you. So what you can see here is just a quick recording of me adding a few fields to a form and changing the label and making the email address required. So this is just a preview of the next generation form builder. Obviously, what you can see here is that currently it doesn't have all the fields that we offer with the current version of Impact Stack. But this section to the side is going to be is going to have like I think last time we counted about 50 different types of form fields that you can choose from. So this is going to be really more than you currently have, and also but in a way that it's easier to navigate because you don't have to see it all at once. These little sections to the side, they collapse. So you can just go into the section that you really want to look at and just pick the fields that you need from there. So data layer, just really briefly, I mentioned this in the beginning, but we already have 2 active email marketing integrations with the next generation of email of Impact Stack. What that means is that these are the kinds of integrations where we can already use the new integrations and the data layer of the next generation, even though you as an organization have not upgraded entirely to the next generation of Impact Stack. So these integrations will be available and are available to all of you. The same thing is true for the Salesforce integration. The Salesforce integration is already built on top of the next generation of our system, but it's just the data layer. So it's not the visible part. It's the bit that happens like after someone has taken action and submits a form. That is where the new data layer kicks in and processes the data. And also CSV file exports. Yes, these are sort of all the standard things that you probably already know about, but we're also going to have them with the next generation. And we've already made a lot of progress towards these kinds of features, so that when you upgrade, you will have all the same integrations available as you have today. And the same thing is true for CSV files. Excuse me. So the next thing that I want to share with you is just this, again, it's a small tweak, but it's a quite big one. And that is that you can actually, if you produce on-demand CSV files, you can actually choose the exact fields that you want. For those of you who use these CSV files a lot, what you can see if you download all form data is that it's a massive file. Now that gives you a lot of power. And you can also have like custom CSV file formats right now. But with the next generation, we're producing a little interface that allows you to just tick a box. And based on that, the format will change that you can download. So that's for those of you who deal with data a lot, that's a small one. So do we have any questions?
I've got one question from James at Friends of the Earth asking, will the platform function well for those annoying users who disable JavaScript?
Hi, James.
That was prompted by the later loading of the form. And we have the occasional person who gets in touch about they turn JavaScript off and some of our stuff doesn't work. I'm just wondering what the approach for the new platform.
The short answer is no. And we've thought about this a lot. The way that JavaScript is used on the web these days, it's actually grown a lot. It's much more stable than it used to be, and it's much more commonplace than it used to be. So the short answer is either these users are technically savvy enough to not even need the JavaScript to submit a form, because they also don't need an interface to submit the form. Or they use a regular browser with regular settings, and that is a choice that we have made for various reasons. And if you think about it, things like making a donation are not even possible without JavaScript anyway. There's no, like, technically that's not an option anymore because the internet has moved on. So there's so many things that are quite fundamental to the infrastructure of how the internet works today that uses JavaScript, that by not using it, from our perspective, we would probably create a lot of it would lead to a lot of issues. Having said that, we do also provide with forms, with very basic forms, we will also provide the option to just create very basic HTML forms with a post, but you're not going to have the validation and all of the things that you tend to need. So again, without JavaScript, it's not going to be a very, very good experience.
That's the approach that we've taken with most of our stuff, so that's fine. I just wanted to check. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Well, thanks, James. A question from Georgina. What are your plans for upgrading the back end of Impact Stack from Drupal 7, which reaches its end of support date in 2023?
Mm-hmm. So I should probably start by saying this end of support date question is always an interesting one, because it's been extended for so many years that it's, yeah, let's just say it's complicated. But the short version is the next generation of Impact Stack is in no way based on Drupal 7. So all of the things that I'm showing you today and the things that I'm talking about are that we are replacing one piece at a time and one piece of the functionality at the time. And and Drupal specifically currently takes care of certain aspects of Impact Stack. Other aspects of Impact Stack are already a completely different system live and have been for many, many years, such as the data sets and the application that handles data sets and email to target and match to target actions, all of that. The same thing is true for the data layer. That is already, for many organizations, not based on Drupal 7. So with this upgrade to the next generation, there will be no, once you've upgraded to the next generation, there will be no Drupal 7 involved anywhere. And instead, what we're using is a range of different systems. I hope that answers the question, but if not, feel free to sort of ask a follow-up.
Do you want to just give us a quick thumbs up, Georgina? I'll move on. I'm conscious of time, so there's a really quick one from Oriana, and then I think we'll move on, and I'll make sure that any outstanding questions are dealt with separately. But really quick one from Oriana: will form template still be available? And just to confirm, did you say it would be possible to duplicate forms without going via support?
Second one, yes, you will be able to duplicate forms and pages, and you'll also be able to do that separately if you need to. So quite a big shift. When you say, can you clarify what you mean by form templates? Do you mean action templates? So yeah. So the way that that's going to work is, first of all, because you can duplicate, it's less of an issue, because what you will be duplicating from is, we will set up one default for you for each action, just like it currently works on Impact Stack. So when you create a new petition or whatever type of action it is, it will already have your configuration in it. But again, because you can duplicate, you can also have many more of these and not think about it too much. So yes, that will still be an option. It will work in a slightly different way than it does at the moment, but yes, it will definitely be something that we will offer. Because I mean, even if it was just for ourselves, like the amount of work that you have to do to set up a form and then replicate this exact same configuration every time, we want to cut that down to ideally no time at all. So
that's great. Let's move on, because there's still some pretty exciting stuff to come in our last 10 minutes. So don't worry, if you've got outstanding questions, we will make sure we pick those up separately. So back to you, Florian.
Thank you. So milestones. I know many of you will be going like, yeah, when can we have it? It is, there's a lot of new stuff, and the question is timelines. Let's make it specific. So the first thing that I want to mention is that the current version of this next generation is already available for coalitions and for specifically coalitions who are launching petitions. The reason is that is the kind of use case that we started with, working in collaboration with Compassion World Farming and others. And this is the kind of system that is in use already. So we launched that last year. The reason why I say petitions is because it doesn't have all the functionality that the current version of Impact Stack has at the moment. So the next thing that we're working towards is the milestone that we call powerful petitions. This milestone will have a lot of the functionality that you are used to around petitions, such as, I'm just saying a few things like the form tracking. So every time someone submits a form, you know exactly where they've come from, or things like the form building interface will be fully integrated. At the moment, it's still a separate interface, but that will be fully integrated, and it will have a wide range of different fields to choose from. So this milestone, we're going to reach that at some point in Q2 2023. So the team is working really hard on each of those. And the next one up is what we call full advocacy. So in Q3, so at some point in Q3, we're going to have email to target and match to target integrated into the system. And that is the first point where we will be able to offer the next generation of Impact Stack with all the campaigning features that we currently offer. Now, you may have questions about details that we can discuss later on, but moving on, the next one will be the first donations. So this is not necessarily all the donation-related functionality that we have, but we are going to see the first donations going through the system, potentially with one organization as a pilot project, also in Q3 2023. We are aiming for feature completion by Q1 2024. So when we say feature completion, that means that this is the first step where we will say, this is the point where all of the features that we are going to upgrade will already have been upgraded. So this is the time where most organizations will be able to start their upgrade. And the last one is more data integrations. This is the point where we will extend the set of integrations we have with other systems, depending on the kinds of integrations that you are using at the moment. This may not even be interesting to you because you're sorted already, but we are investing a lot more in sort of the data layer. Now, obviously, these are timelines that may change a little. First of all, because we're working with you on a day-to-day basis, so there may be opportunities, there may be specific actions or things that where we can collaborate that will change the roadmap. Like in every one of these stages, there are at least 2 organizations heavily involved in shaping that. So we're not just sort of like developing something and then just releasing it. What we actually do is that we work with clients on each of these milestones. That way, we also get like really valuable feedback, and we can make sure that what we're building is essentially delivering value for each and every one of you already. Now, the other reason why this might change is because software is quite complex. So there may be things that we haven't quite anticipated, or some things may take a little longer, other things might be faster. So that also means that like the exact timeline may shift a little, but this is sort of this is the plan that we're working with. And I'm just going to briefly touch on the future roadmap. So that is post 2023. What we're going to tackle are things like the local groups functionality that I've already kind of hinted at. So empowering local groups to also be on Impact Stack and to be using it as a system. The target data set changes and expansions. So this is providing more interfaces for you to take control over data sets. Right now, you can already do a lot. And with a little bit of support from the team, even if it's just 2 hours, you can do almost anything. But we want to make all of those features available via the interface. Advanced segmentation. This is where we provide a more advanced interface for you to filter contacts and to like manage contacts within Impact Stack. And not just within your CRM and your email marketing tool. And the last one is like niche tactics. We are thinking about many different ways on new tactics and specific tactics that may not be as popular as, let's say, petitions or target-based actions, but maybe target data set-based actions. But there are loads of ideas around, and we are going to introduce many more tactics. So before we move on, the way that organizations can get involved right now is essentially through pilot projects. So eventually all of you will be upgraded to the next generation. If you don't require any customizations, and most of you do not, then we will just upgrade you for free. There's no additional cost or anything, and we will work with you to identify a good time for that. But if you are one of those organizations where you already want to use the latest tech and the foundation of what it is you need, for example, if you are now working with a coalition and all you need is a petition system for coalitions, then that is something that we can already provide. So a pilot project is the kind of project where we will work with you and we will work closely with you. You can shape the platform, and it's more like a custom software project. So we will be producing specific features for you, and we'll be working closely with you to launch the platform that you need. But this also comes with a minimum budget. So again, like these kinds of pilot projects, it's really more that we thought we often get these requests from organizations like, can we have this kind of system? Can we extend Impact Stack to make all of those things as well? And so not just the standard Impact Stack that we use. And this is our opportunity to say, yes, we can, if those criteria are sort of met, and we'd be happy to have a chat. And what that allows us to do is, again, launch stuff and new features and launch different versions with many organizations who are actually using it at that point. So if that is something that you're interested in, feel free to reach out. But if that's not your thing, that's absolutely fine. You will get the next generation of Impact Stack. As mentioned, if you use standard features, there's no extra charge. So we're not like asking you to pay to get the upgrade. Everyone will get the upgrade in time. The way that it's going to work is that we will reach out to you as soon as we've identified that the functionality that you have activated on your current version of Impact Stack is fairly close to what we can already offer, because that way we have a bit of lead time and we can plan ahead, and we will suggest a time for the upgrade. We will organize all organizations using Impact Stack into groups based on the needs, and one group at a time will receive the upgrade. So we're not going to do it all at once. It's not going to be that scenario that you try to log into the system and all of a sudden everything is new. There will be a lot of conversation, and this is not just going to happen. We are going to work with you to make it happen. So just one last thing before we go to final questions. There are a few other things that are new on the current version of Impact Stack that I'm really excited about. But this is just a quick teaser because there are a few new features. I've already briefly mentioned display headings and themes, but also new tactic match to target that's been used by some organizations, and the random target functionality with custom data sets, which is also really great because it opens up like a whole new area for sort of how the matching between supporters and targets work. But for that, there's another webinar that we're putting on the 16th of February, full of case studies with actually with some of you, now that I can see the list. So some of you may be speaking at this webinar, but this is also a great chance to sort of get to see how other organizations are using the platform, what they're doing with these new features, and how you might be able to also use those to sort of just to get new ideas of how to improve your campaigning work. So thank you. That was it from my end. And with that, I'm going to go to a final round of questions if we have time for that, Jess.
Okay, I'm conscious we're actually formally out of time. So if you need to head off because your your next meeting is awaiting you, we won't keep you any longer. But we're happy to stay on the call for an extra few minutes and take a few questions for those of you who can stay. So I'm just kind of whizzing through what's in the chat. If you have any follow-up questions, please post them. A couple that we've already answered. So so a question from Michael. I missed the answer on the Drupal question earlier. Could you recap the short version of that? Is Drupal still involved in the new platform?
No.
That's the short version of the answer.
Yeah, the next generation does not have any components that are Drupal. It's a completely different system, and it's actually based on if you're curious about the tech, it's based on a microservices architecture. So it's many small applications that form Impact Stack together. So no traces of Drupal.
Thanks, Florian. And another question about how does tracking and reporting look on the platform? Is it integrated in the platform, and what elements can you report on?
Mm-hmm. So the tracking, we are introducing a similar system as we have right now that makes it really easy to put all kinds of like tracking systems like Google Tag Manager and Facebook Pixels and like all of that web tracking stuff. That is something that we're introducing in a very similar way, also with cookie compliance and all the usual stuff. The next layer down is the tracking that we offer. So this is the form tracking and the pre-filling and all of these tracking options. They will also be very similar, small improvements, but we will make those available. The next layer down is what you do with the data that you actually have that has been submitted to the forms. So what we're doing with the next generation is that we are providing this data in a format that will be much easier for you to just put into any business analytics tool. So currently the way that most of you do reporting is that you download the CSV file, or you do that automatically and you import that into your analytics systems if you have like a business intelligence tool of some sort. And with this change, what we're doing is that you can sort of permanently connect these and you will have all the data available in an anonymized format to build reporting on. And the long-term thing, if you go one step further, is that we will provide out-of-the-box integrations and make that very similar. Like the way that we're going to do it is very similar to like email marketing integrations. So we will take care of everything, so you can just like have the data available in the platform, and then maybe even embed a dashboard or a particular kind of report on Impact Stack, so you don't have to use different systems, but the data will be available right there. So as you can see, there's sort of many different layers to that. If you have specific questions about what kind of report you want to see and how you would like to see this happen, then I'd be happy to have a chat. Feel free to reach out.
Cool. I think we're going to close there. Thank you so much for your questions, everybody. If you have further follow-up questions for us, please do drop us an email, either to the email address that you signed up with, or the hello@moreonion email address you can find on our website. And obviously we'll be very happy to engage with any further questions. I hope you found this interesting. Thank you very much for your patience with our slight overrun. And I hope you're as excited about this stuff as we are. There's lots of really exciting and interesting stuff on the way. I'm just popping a link into the chat to our webinar in 2 weeks' time, on the 16th of February, where I'll be taking you through lots of examples and ideas of ways to make your digital campaigning actions more interesting, including showcasing the features that Florian flagged up earlier, randomized target and match to target, which we've recently rolled out. This one's going to be an interactive session, so there'll be a chance to discuss those ideas with peers and people from outside of the existing the Impact Stack community. So please do sign up. We would love to see you online again in a couple of weeks. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Goodbye.